Welcome my car enthusiast family, and this is a review that you wanted to see of the Audi SQ2. And here on Autogefuehl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and the #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas, we go to take a detailed look on the exterior, interior and of course today the performance driving experience of this sporty SUV or crossover. Does it make sense and how does it relate to an Audi S3 in comparison, for example? We'll tell you all about it in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Please subscribe if you haven't done so far to get the latest car reviews on here, and hardly anyone can imagine how much work we are actually putting into our both channels, but some of you I think really do, and that appreciation really keeps us going further, so thank you again so much guys. Here to the Audi Q2 in the front, you usually have LED as option for a Q2, but the SQ2 has those LED lamps, and of course and also with the LED daytime running light. This is an exactly standard, so well, I can think we can expect it for that extra price you have to pay. Then it also has this big front grille, which is also standard for the Q2, but then again with a special SQ2 shape, a little bit more dramatic, a little darker, and also a stronger lower bumper in this case. By the way, the car is not always super clean today. It's hardly possible, and with this weather you clean it and you drive some kilometers and it's already a little bit dirty, but I hope it's still okay. The quantum gray color is actually also, what we have today here, a color which looks good, and not only looks good when it's super clean, but also still when it's a little bit dirty. So I think nice choice in this case. What's your take? The length is at 4.21 meters, 13'8" or 165 inches, and usually this Audi SQ2 comes with 18-inch wheels. Those ones are the optional 19-inch wheels, the biggest ones you can get. And usually for a Q2, 16-inch would be base, for example. And also you can get normal suspension, a sport suspension, and an adaptive suspension for a normal Q2. Here with the SQ2, it automatically only comes with a sport suspension, which is 20 millimeters lower. So no adaptive suspension choice, which is questionable in the decision because it's a high trim car anyway. Well, but we'll experience it all in the driving part, how that one plays out for sportiness and for comfort. Then quantum gray again, the color, nice choice. Also here with the drop-in light, you can see very well today in dividing in light and shadow. Then this Quattro sticker on there to make it a little bit more aggressive. Dark everything around the wheel, but this is just the cheap rubber, so I think there could be also some high gloss used right there. And this one here, the SQ2, has also wheel arches painted in vehicle color. This makes it also a little bit sportier. However, I think when it's an SUV, I always prefer the little bit more off-roadish look. Or what's your take on that? And special for the Q2 is definitely this design line where you have this area right there, which then narrows into another design again here. That looks a little bit, I don't know, let's take it unique. Do you like it? Please tell me in the comments. And then this very big C-pillar, which creates this flying roof effect. The design in the rear, I think, to me is clear and modern, also with this signature here for the rear LED, SQ2 badge, and in the lower part here, again, a contrasting lower bumper together with real exhaust pipes. So unlike the all-new Audis, this one here is still the real deal. The engine for today, yay, hydraulic strut, is a 2-liter TFSI with 300 horsepower, so turbo petrol engine, and 4.8 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. All-wheel drive, because it's a front-wheel driven platform, it is front plus rear on demand. But of course with this performance car, yeah, you will have a lot of power also transported to the rear wheels. Of course, maximum is 50-50 distribution, more is not possible. Now to the interior, where this top part here is, let's say, it's relatively hard, maybe with a little soft touch, but just a little bit, but relatively hard. And the rest is hardback, besides this leatherette cover for the armrest. You can put some bottles here at the inside. Bang & Olufsen optional sound system, quite good performance. Then the S entry badge together with nice SQ2 floor mats, and also those aluminum pedals. And look at the ambient lighting right here at the inside there of the cover, and also with some leatherette covering right there. It's good for your niece. Then, well, not for your nephew or for niece, but for knees of the legs. Then here, the red rings around, nice accentuations, virtual cockpit we have inbuilt right there, SQ2 steering wheel, perforated sides. Yeah, that should also come in leatherette or Alcantara, that would be better. Then red contrast stitches already right here, and the SQ2 already comes with a sport seats base. That means a little bit more shoulder support at the sides. The base version, however, would be fabric on the inside and some leatherette and animal skin parts on the outside, or with Alcantara on the inside. This one here is the Porn Red edition of the full animal skin equipment, which is extra again in price and not necessary, and sweats in summer and cold in winter. Nice S stamping there, however, on the seats. And you can already see you sit a little bit higher, a little bit more upright than in an S3, so that could be a reason to go for the SQ2. Let's see more about that. And indeed, it's a little bit easier to get inside here in this SUV, and you sit more upright, more comfortable, so that could be a reason to go for this one instead of an S3. And I think that's also the main advantage, you know, you maybe want a sporty car, but just at the same time a little bit more comfortable than some of the other sporty cars, and it works pretty well. So when I put the seat all the way down, let's see, like this with 1.86 m or 6'1", subscribers will know, then there's still some headroom left. However, if you pump the seat a little bit higher, then you have an even more upright seating position, a little bit more comfortable. You have a good position here in the front, so you can get along very well. Optional, there's also a glass roof available if you like. Steering wheel with a manual control, but look at that. The way is like really far out, and that is good for controlling of the vehicle. So really like that feature definitely, and a good size of the steering wheel together with a very good grip handle. And there's also electric lumbar support. I never use those. I just don't get along with them. Are you a lumbar support user? Then tell me in the comments. Now the interior overview, a very clean layout. That one then again is soft touch. Red rings around the vents, also with nice clicking sounds, and nice clicking sounds here also for the metal knurled controls of the climate unit. Easy to reach while driving, I like that. The drive select also placed right there. It's cool to change the driving modes, not like, you know, all the way down. That's cool. Ambient lighting here also in this quattro area, that's also nicely done. Then again, a very compact steering wheel. The virtual cockpit is optional. The head-up display, which is not projected to the windscreen but is on a separate plexiglass layer, is also an option. There you can see it then popping up. You can activate or deactivate it. And then this 8.3-inch screen, which is then, so to say, popped up. And you can also just shut it off, but you cannot retract it. And here, this one is not touch, so you control it here with the lower part, but you get along with it actually quite well. Soon more details to that. Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connection is available. And then in the lower area you have a USB connector. That one can also be used for the CarPlay connection. 12-volt power supply. Cup holders not adaptive, but you know, they somewhat have the right size. Start stop. Then this S-tronic dual clutch transmission shifting lever. Then you have this touchpad right here, which you can also turn and press, and then you can also write an address, for example, with the buttons. That could be a good solution then. And last but not least, the arm which is very well attached and space underneath for your smartphone. And this is also, you know, for not only for charging but also for the connection. Oh, and under the smartphone you can also get an inductive charging pad, but since you connect your smartphone via cable at the moment anyway with this system here, well, it's not that useful. And here again the head-up display. It's good that you have the stuff more in your line of sight. Yeah, not that elaborated as those newer head-up displays, but still good to have it as an option. So also a safety feature, and there will also be the allowed speed and some GPS information on there. Then the normal virtual cockpit. Here the check engine light will disappear when you start up the engine. It's just a sign that the light itself is working. You can change the views right there, but you also have a GPS view, then either full way or just on the left side, so pretty flexible, and they are still among the leading one in this business with this system. On the right side of the steering wheel you can control the volume right there, for example, or pick up the phone. And on the left side is where I controlled the virtual cockpit, or here also with this view button. And the nice detail I always enjoy are those frameless back mirrors, and they also deliver you a good view and look pretty elegant. Now more details to the infotainment system. This is the main menu. You click it all the way through with the central knob. Apple CarPlay can be reached right there, and the sound system is actually nice. So good surround sound here by the optional Bang & Olufsen system. Really like that. And then when you want to go to the GPS, well, putting it in a classic way is somewhat hard and too complicated, but when you put it in like this, with writing here with the letters, then it's actually quite easy. So that could be the best solution for this one here. Phone could also be connected to Bluetooth, but then again, CarPlay or Android Auto is available. And car settings right there. For example, you get directly to the drive select. So they kept it relatively simple. I think you don't miss a touchscreen here necessarily. Again, when you have this optional touch display for the GPS input, that is helpful. Again, it's also an option. And as for the rear compartment in this vehicle, it's not a long vehicle, but definitely the thing is you cannot fit in the rear here. So at least if you're a tall driver and then you got someone tall next to you, so that doesn't work knee room wise. You're totally hitting it. When you don't have the glass roof, it works as for the headroom, can still put a hand over my head, but you know, that's the limitation of this car, and that would be better, for example, in the Q3, especially in this all-new generation where you have more legroom definitely. But that's just a smaller car. Then also the same setup here for the rear seats, ISOFIX at the outside seats. You have to flip the seats from here. Then you also have a middle armrest with some cup holders. They are also adaptive. You can also just fold this middle part as a ski hatch. And in the middle part, well, you can already not sit here in the side parts. The middle part, yeah, it's hardly possible to sit there at all. But in the middle you have another 12-volt power supply. Opening the hatch, you can use this SQ2 badged key, yeah, with the button right there, or under the Audi rings. And what we have here, so yeah, somewhat square dimensions. Put in some luggage right here. We can also put it like this. It still works under the cover, so that's good. And some measurements for you as well, because in length, the normal length right here is about 77 centimeters. Underneath the cover we have, yeah, some 43 centimeters, and the standard width here is a little bit less than a meter. To flip those seats we have to go around actually, and then yeah, you can see it here, you have to put the front seats and also in the front to be able that those ones flip all the way down. So yes, you're a little bit limited here in the length. It's also not a long car, to remember that, but therefore you also get more parking spots in the city. And when I then would put the measuring stick to my driving seating position, it's a little bit less, yeah, about 147 centimeters. But overall the dimensions I think are still quite good. You can get this net, for example. You also don't have to go for it, can remove it. And if you remove it, you can also better access the lower part right here. And underneath we have at the moment the sound system, but there could also be a replacement tire. Welcome guys to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Audi SQ2, and we will put that thing to dynamic mode. We'll also turn off the EC in the first stage, and then we can do some funny stuff for sure. There's no one behind us. We hit the brakes fully hard and we push the throttle full through. So that's the launch control from 0 to 190. Couldn't push it all the way through 100 for that reason. Yeah, others overtake on the right then. That's surely also not the best solution. Well, whatever. But I think you can, get a really good sense of how this car is capable to accelerate, and due to this all-wheel drive, also very harmonious acceleration, although it's really harsh. So this is of course here a front-wheel driven platform, so that means we also get then the rear-wheel drive on demand, and of course when we hammer it all the way through, then we have a lot of power on the rear wheels, maximum 50-50. And yeah, I mean, the acceleration figure, as I told you earlier, is below 5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and this is really like, a small racing bee for sure. So I really have a lot of fun accelerating with this car, also in between, and you've seen also an acceleration not only from standstill, also in the higher region. Although it's just a 2-liter displacement engine due to the 300 horsepower, still got a real good boost right there. Then we can also go back to the auto mode, that it's what you would leave on usually also, and being on the motorway and stuff. And dynamic mode of course boosts up the gears mainly, so RPMs go high, but you can also do it with the S shifting mode. When you just turn the shifting lever, then you also have the very same effect. And of course you can also use shifting pedals to go down a gear or up again and hold them on the right to go back to the auto mode. Now when we're in this tunnel, you can also see a little bit more how the car looks like at night, also with the ambient light and so on. And well, it's always a good good chance to turn down the window and then accelerate some more. Yeah, I mean the sound is not super loud. It's still a Q2, so it's not like really rolling 6-cylinder or 8-cylinder sound. So, but of course, a little bit more spice than you would usually have with this car. That's clear. In this case, the dynamic mode does not change anything from suspension, because as I told you earlier, this car here has the fixed sport suspension. As long as it's very even here from the road, and I'll soon have another acceleration for you of course, it's all good, definitely. So it's a lot of fun, and although it's not a big car, it's a real nice autobahn vehicle. So driven a long route on the motorway before already, and it was really a lot of fun. It's also very stable at higher speeds. You also picked it up, it's really silent, good noise insulation. Just when the roads getting a little bit uneven, there are some bumps in the road, then you would think, yeah, the adaptive suspension would have been cool. So if you would go for a normal Q2, definitely stick with the normal suspension, or then pay the extra price for the adaptive suspension. Do not pick the sport suspension. Here it's maybe a little bit different case, because when you pick the SQ2, then you really intend to have a sporty vehicle, so the sport suspension is also more suitable or acceptable for this car. I think it's still somewhat working when you do expect that. So I wouldn't feel like, like with the BMW fixed sport suspension, direct competitor would be like an X2 M35i. So that one is really good in the adaptive suspension, but I wouldn't buy this one with the sport suspension, with the fixed one. But there you also have the choice. Here you don't have the choice. So I think, yeah, it would have been cool if they also offered the adaptive suspension for this one, because it's already an expensive vehicle, and with the adaptive suspension you could have made it a little bit sportier as for the setting, and then maybe go back again for the situation. So I don't really understand the decision to say we offer the adaptive suspension in the lower trim models, but not in the highest trim. So, very strange decision, I think. But that's the way it is, and I can just tell you. So, but again, I think it's still something you can live with. It's not a reason not to buy this car then because it's too harsh. That's there are some cases for that, but it's not the case in this one here. You also have the known DSG fart a little bit. However, I have the feeling since the new WLTP EU cycles and the new exhaust regulations and so on, that the DSG fart is not as intense as it used to be in the past. That's, at least my subjective feeling, and probably also when what you hear on the outside then from the exterior, from the exhaust. So we pass that tunnel again and we get to another acceleration, and I just have to say the steering feel is superb. It has a very direct and progressive steering here. There's no dead zone whatsoever. Smallest commands are being transported, and you never have to leave the steering wheel with both hands because of this progressive character. That's really awesome. One of my most favorite steering wheel feelings here, definitely. It also doesn't feel too arcade-alike, and the car is super stable. Although it does not have extensive wheelbase, you feel very much at home, really stable also at higher speeds. So they really managed that one very well. And it's super agile, super fun car. Yeah, a very, very good car to collect speeding tickets. That I have to say. And now we are already at speed. Let me start at 80 kilometers an hour and see how is the acceleration when we are already at speed from the smaller engine. Also in dynamic mode again. Let's go. And that's 200 kilometers or 125 miles per hour. Really impressive again. Very confident. And maybe you picked it up at very first. It's no turbo lag what's happening there. The car shifts down first. So even in the dynamic mode it goes quite fastly in the higher gears. So if you want a more spontaneous acceleration, even in the dynamic mode, then shift down yourself here with the shifting pedals. And so when I go back to the gears here, see then now how there's direct acceleration then. There it is, see? So that's nothing with turbo lag or nothing or something. It's more like the car needs time or like half a second to shift down the gears. So that's more about it. Very interesting, definitely. So much fun to drive this car around the motorway, and also of course in winding corners and stuff. Look at that, when I'm doing a lane change here, this is amazing. And still have to remember we are in the crossover or we're in a compact SUV, and it doesn't feel like that. So on the one hand I have more comfort than in the, for example, Audi RS3. I have a more upright seating position, can relax a little bit more, and I do not get back pain after 2 hours of motorway ride. And on the other hand, I still have the agile feeling and I don't miss any sports characteristic. So to me, in this case then the sports SUV do make sense, because there are some sports cars where I say like, oh my god, they're so much fun to drive and really cool from the agile handling. But then you get after a while and it's like, whoa, I'm not sure if I can do this tomorrow again, so my lower back hurts. Yeah, I'm not the youngest anymore, guys. It's happening. Sorry about that. And those sporty SUVs then somehow can fulfill both, having upright seating position, being a little bit more comfortable, but at the same time have the sporty fun you might want to experience. So I think it's a very cool mix they found here. And talking about Q2 versus Q3, of course the space you have in here is not plenty, but then again, if you rather don't need the rear bench so often, and this one of course is, because it's a little bit shorter, even a little bit more agile than the Q3 or SQ3. Might be then different when when we have the RS Q3, because it has more power definitely, and we know from the previous generation already with the 5-cylinder engine. But then again, this agile feeling, no matter of the power, you're still lighter, shorter with the car, and that helps. The brakes, by the way, amazing, really amazing. So they hammer in directly, and I like it when the brakes are a little bit aggressive, because in some situations you might not realize like how harsh do I really have to brake right now, or maybe you realize the the significance of the situation like a second after that, and then it's good when the brakes are rather a little bit evil, so to say, and really hammer in directly, then you cannot be mistaken and they have good braking performance directly from the get-go. So of course at the moment 10 liters to 1 kilometers because of the high-speed motorway ride, but indeed when you drive a motorway with higher speed, longer time, this is also a realistic consumption figure. I tested that earlier. And if you're not driving high speed all the time, rather like 100, 130 kilometers or like 60, 70 miles per hour motorway, also a little bit of city traffic, then it's rather realistic. Like say you are at about 9 liters on 1 kilometers at least. So definitely like 26 mpg US, 30 something mpg UK, something in this region. So definitely below 30 mpg then, and more than at least 9 liters on 1 kilometer. So there is no low fuel consumption with this car possible, even if you try, So that's definitely a downside. And also if you think about the size of the car and the size of the engine, this is not really a good result. Of course, a sports car always has a high consumption. You want to use it at some time, yes, of course. But there are also some bigger sports cars with bigger engines who were more efficient overall, let's say. So I will also try to run into some bumps now intentionally, so you can maybe also experience that on camera, how it is as for the suspension performance. Now a little bit more out in the countryside, and the car is really calm again. You feel a good noise insulation. The roundabout visibility is awesome. Well, not so many cars have overtaken me today, so you could not take a glimpse of the blind spot monitor. But here those black areas inside the side mirrors, there will actually flash yellow, and that's a good integration definitely, and really good assistance systems. And also the adaptive cruise control set here on the left lower stalk column, it works flawlessly, and even up to 200 kilometers or 120 miles per hour. How would I know that? Yeah, so I got me there. But of course you can also use it at lower speeds. And again, it's doing really, really a great job. So as for the lane departure, intervention assist and so on, this is not one of the all newest Audis. So it doesn't have the most elaborate systems. And I really have to say, there are some new systems in the cars which I really appreciate, and I also appreciate modern assistance like an adaptive cruise control and also the blind spot monitor, which is like really crucial for every vehicle, I think. But then again, those new lane intervention assistance systems, sometimes they really annoy me. And the problem is there are regulations that they have to be on from the start, and then you have to deactivate them all again every time. So I'm starting to feel, that's a nice blue color. This was also a Q2, but not an S, I think. Just maybe S line, I think, but beautiful color. Awesome. But our quantum gray is also quite nice for today. So back to those assistance systems. I don't like to have so much intervention in the steering, and I'm at the moment starting to think, maybe it also has an advantage not to get the all new generation of some cars, because the generations before, or like the cars that don't have the most elaborate assistance systems yet, they are more driver's cars and they allow you more and don't intervene that much. And to me, as a car enthusiast, on the one hand I look forward to autonomous driving for like boring traffic situations. On the other hand, I really like to have a self-controlling mode, and those interventions in the steering wheel, something like, oh, come on, seriously, again? And then you have to deactivate it again. But here you don't have to deactivate it. It's, again, as I said, not the one of the newest systems, so you'll be fine with that. So that might also be a reason that it's good that it's not one of the all newest cars they have to offer. Here now in those bumps, maybe you can also pick down sound-wise on camera, and also maybe some of camera shaking movements or so here now, pretty rough. So that's where the adaptive suspension would play a role, but I have to say it's still something where you can live with in an SQ2. In a normal Q2 I would say, nah, I don't want to have that, but since this one does have the sporty character, it's still okay. although the adaptive suspension would have been a nice option. Then again, talking about the prices, when you think about 30k something for base Q2 and double the price for this one here, taking German reference prices in euros, come on. And I say double because you might look in the price list and see like, oh, it's like 45, but with all the extras here built in there, you can easily reach 60k. And 60k for a Q2, oh, come on. Yeah, the question is always, can you get like a good leasing deal, or can you get a good discount? But the list prices, especially for Audi, BMW and Mercedes, are quite often that ridiculous. So as much as I enjoy driving the German premium vehicles, the more I also think like, come on, prices, guys. But of course, they all do the same. But Volvo also, so that's what you pay the premium prices for then. But we also saw recently, for example, with the Mazda CX-30, the non-premium vehicles officially don't offer those performance engines, but in all the other respects, like touch, look and feel, touch and feel, they're really picking up. And for the premium manufacturers, I think it gets really hard in the next few years to see a differentiation to the non-premium brands, because they're catching up so well. And the question then is, why would you pay like double the price for a premium car? So then performance might be the only thing that could speak for that. But then when you have the electric vehicle development as well, where even like, let's say, cheaper electric vehicles already have like instant torque and good acceleration and good performance, then even that might be gone. So definitely very interesting developments also in the car industry happening, and we will keep you updated with that. To this vehicle, definitely so much fun to drive, really enjoying it. The steering feel is awesome, sound installation is great. Suspension could be a little bit more forgiving for those bumpy parts of the roads. Yes, that's maybe something. Infotainment system, you don't have the touch here, but that could also be an advantage, as we told you earlier. So there's always discussion about that, but I found it quite well to control still. And entering the address, I always do then with the with the writing pad there. So that could also be a good option for a car that doesn't have the touchscreen. And consumption is too high, even if you don't use all the performance. That's another criticism point. But other than that, really a very flawless and sporty ride with this car that indeed is one of those that can combine this comfort of a SUV and still a driving fun of a hot hatch. And now to our conclusion for today with the Audi SQ2. From the exterior, likable and sporty. I think the mix of sportiness and crossover-ish still works. Definitely also here in this quantum gray color. But we've also seen that nice blue in this, passing by of the other Q2 in the driving part. The interior, high build quality, really nicely done, and also all the controls, how everything worked together, I think absolutely flawless, really cool. A little bit less space in the rear compartment there for the rear passengers. That's maybe the only thing that is lacking for this vehicle. And that really cool. As for the interior, also a little bit less animal skin would definitely do better. Audi is slightly improving there, but just very slowly. Driving, really flawless. Adaptive suspension could have been cooler, and consumption should be lower if you keep it a little bit, calmer. Other than that, so much fun, so agile, great steering setup, awesome performance. So definitely such a fun car, and it works to combine this sportiness with a small SUV. You still have a very agile feeling, and not a compromise if you compare it, for example, to an Audi S3. So you still have this full sports performance. At the same time, you have a little bit more comfort and upright seating position. So I think that's also a good mix. But at the end of the day, such a high price for this very car, as I just told you, and at the end of the driving part, that is again something you have to swallow then in this case. What's your take? Please give me your feedback. Also tune into more related videos, which are also linked in the video description or in the pinned comment. And I also hope to see you next time. So great always to have you here.